All right. This is me stepping in for Kaboosh as he's AFK from his keyboard right now. So we're gonna try to do this observing casting thing while he's away. So, yeah, that last game kind of a shutdown from Creature's End, shutting down EdWinSTZ. That first game pretty quick, pretty easily, and looks like Edwin just like his opener just didn't feel very right. Like having the 26 workers by that
Yeah,
point in the game.
that's indicative of I'm gonna get full one base saturation and then have a second base for larva purposes only and try to all in. But that's what it ended up being. I don't think it was his goal to end up there. He wanted to be somewhere around 44 to 55 drones, but the supply blocks and then needing to produce units to just not die to 4 zealots ended up snowballing, and he got quite a big lead from the Protoss got quite a big lead just from being able to produce as many probes as he wanted and then put pressure on to force the Zerg to make not drones.
Yeah, pretty much. So pretty early win for Creature, and we're gonna step into game number 2 of the second set of the Group C, the round of 32.
Indeed, indeed. One of my least favorite ZVP maps just because it's so awkward to try to punish a Protoss's third base if they take the one that's in line with their natural. And Zerg, I actually like to take the triangular expansion just because it's more open and we don't have to deal with this quite small choke where our hatchery actually acts as a permanent force field for Protoss because our units have to get around it. But anyway, so spawning in the bottom left position, there are no clocks on this map. It's Team Ascension Pros Creature. And spawning in the top right, we have the Zerg player, EdWinSTZ. So, Hawkeye, any predictions for this game? Are we going to see the same thing out of Creature and just Creature just asserting that he's the better player and he doesn't have to show any of his complicated builds? Or are we going to see something a little different?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So, besides already knowing what the outcome of this is, since I've been the main person organizing it, I think there's I would like to touch on a kind of a different point. So, I'm kind of dodging your question, but kind of not. But we originally opened up this tournament to Diamond players, to Grandmasters players. So, just basically the only limitation was you can't be Platinum or lower, or you can't be considered what there's kind of like a fickle line of if you're considered a pro or not, and
Yeah.
that we were kind of trying to not get as many quote unquote like high caliber players in from that like level. But there's players such as Creature here who like I would kind of put him on not on that pro level. I mean, he certainly is able to keep up with the pros, but
He's got pro in his handle though, so
yeah. So it's just kind of one of those semantic sort of things. I mean, obviously we don't want
yeah.
like in control coming in and competing and such as much as we want. Or I don't know. Another tough case was in Group D. My Insanity's Penguin is in, but he doesn't really get too much screen time, which is kind of why we were like, yeah, sure, come join and compete and such. But it just kind of comes down to this. But back to my original point, it's one of those things where when you open it up to such a wide skill level, you're going to see that Diamond players are going to struggle a little bit if they get matched up against Grandmasters players. So it's
Indeed.
not really an indicative of what's going to happen in this series or any of the future series, just kind of something to note as you see some of these games unfold, that it is a challenge for our Diamond level players to be able to compete against some people who are possibly much more skilled than they are, or have had the opportunity to play better players than themselves.
Indeed, and I played in the qualifier, and while I would have liked to make the tournament, I'm not disappointed because I got to play against really good players who, like, if I just go ask the people that I had to play against to qualify for practice games, they'd be like, no, you're stupid. Just leave me alone, Diamond Scrub. But I got 5 games against really good players, and I was pretty happy with how I played, even though I didn't win. Like, I did how I felt the best I could.
Yeah, it's
So,
kind of a form of learning, like a learning experience too. So, Yeah, definitely. So, we do see that we both players have their expansions, and the Zerg player is actually not choosing to get his third right away. So, most Zerg players would anticipate the one gate expand.
Yeah.
So, in response, they're gonna go ahead and just get that third base pretty quickly. Not right away, but unless they're metagaming. But
We're almost looking at sort of the better version of what happened last game. It looks like Edwin's going for a sort of speedling all-in off of one base plus a hatch. And unfortunately for him, he's going to run it up against a 4-gate.
yeah, definitely. So, lots of Zerglings in productions, and Pylon is trying to be established, and the probe did get away, so he's going to be able to put down more pylons around the map just to be able to reinforce that. But this pylon doesn't get taken down, so a warpin of Zealots is going to come up, and we're going to see if these large amount of Zealots, or excuse me, Zerglings are going to be able to hold off these Zealots.
Yeah. And as a Zerg player, I'm very familiar with 4 Zealots will kill any number of Zerglings. So, Creature hasn't gotten this memo, so he's just going to recall and go back to his natural and make sentries for days because he's seen what's on the other side of the map, so he's just going to set up his wall and start chrono boosting his gateways for sentry production.
Yeah, so Speedling's trying to get in, but Zealot's going to hold the gate right there. They're not going to let anyone in, and there's a fresh supply of Zealots to just continue to plug those holes, and Zerglings are going to try to do what damage that they can, but there's not really much you can do.
Edwin is super all in here because he's pulled out of gas and is just going with straight Speedlings, and this almost is reminiscent of the movie 300, where they're just plugging the gap with a smaller number of units, and they're just getting wrecked. So Edwin will GG out of the game and go down 0-2 to Creature, down to the losers match.
Yeah, so pretty short games. Good timing. You're back?
Mm-hmm.
Good. That means I can go back behind the scenes again.